everybody, welcome to another OPW University. Today we're not going to be in the Smithfield lab or just next door. Today we're out here on site in Hialeah, Florida with Petro Solutions, and today we're building an Orion's fuel station, part of the downstairs market that you see here behind me. And today the emphasis is going to be our ElectroTite Tank Sump. Now the ElectroTite Tank Sump is a little bit different than the tank sumps that have ever come out on the market before, so we wanted to get you out here and get you in the trench with us as we install this so you can see the difference and you can see the ease that this makes for installation for the contractor, for the electrical contractor. Really speeds things up and gives a high level of confidence on that tank sump installation. So as we get into this, we're going to be covering some of the most important installation features, some of the most important installation steps, things that we don't want to speed through. We want to take our time and get them right. And we're going to be relying on Petro Solutions to help us out with that today. We're going to be doing 4 electrotites. So over the course of those 4, we'll be able to show each step kind of in depth and really grow what OPW University has been doing here recently with some of our video series on some of our product highlights. And I think this is the best way you could possibly show the ElectroTite Tank Sump is down here at a Florida store where this thing really shines, because they got a high water table pretty much anywhere you go down here. So we wanted to come down, we wanted to make sure we get all the steps and show whether you're an end user, a contractor, or somebody who's going to be installing these in the next couple of days, to get you in the trench with us so we can show you exactly how this thing shines, how it goes in, and what makes for a good installation. So one of the things that we try and bake into all of these products is some flexibility. And that flexibility is important because every job site you go on is going to be different. Whether the grade is going to be set different, whether the conditions are different, something about every site is going to be different from the last site you were on. So for our tank sumps, we have 2 separate models for our FTSM and our FCSM, which is our fiber light and our fiber tight, which is what we're, or ElectroTite, I'm sorry, which is what we're doing today. And they have a little bit different trimmability. So for our regular tank sump, or our FTSM, we have those in a medium and a deep version. So each of those top hats are going to be trimmable up to 12 inches. We have a trimmable top hat, that's where you can shorten your height. The bases on each of those are different. So the base for the medium will be shallower than the deep. For our ElectroTite, we use the same 2 bases, but the trimmability, because of what I call the doghouse, or where our quick wire junction box lives, because of how that forms to the top hat, there's a little bit less trimmability. We have about 7 inches right there. So you can see here we have our string height already run, and this is going to be to our finished grade. Now, one of the things that I really like about the installation instructions for the ElectroTite and for the FTSM versions is we have appendices in the back, appendices A, B, C, D, and all of these appendices make it very, very easy. It's almost a fill-in-the-blank workbook for how high your grade needs to be, how high your top hat and your base need to be, and we try and make that really, really easy so that hitting that grade and not having to make after-the-fact changes need to occur. So we've got those strung. We've got this at a place today where we actually, their grade is set perfect for our medium. They're not going to need to trim any top hats, so we're just going to be prepping our surfaces for the base today, getting all of those leveled and set and making sure that it's done so correctly. So one of the things that you can see happening right now, or that the guys just finished, and they're now turning their attention over to the sump base, is we've got some rough grit sandpaper. We're hand sanding down around the collar that's on the tank, as well as going up around the inside and the outside of our tank sump base. And what that rough grit sandpaper is going to do is it's going to rough up that surface for us. It's going to get some of the veil and some of that resin heavy stuff off, so that whenever we pour our IK 5000, we're going to have a really, really good bond to our fiberglass, making our tank sump and our tank one piece. So now that we've properly sanded both the tank and the tank sump base, we're going to clean both of these off really, really well with acetone, and you can see they've already got a dry fit in here to make sure that everything is fitting together. They've got their level out. We're going to check to make sure that we can get this thing perfectly level, and then we're going to start mixing our RK 5000. The RK 5000 is one of the pieces that the contractors tend to like best, because it's a very, very easy process where you dump one, then dump the other, stir for 3 minutes, and once you stir for that 3 minutes, then you just pour it in the channel. So there's a couple more steps in there. We're going to tape off the seams and do some things, but for now we're going to do this check fit. We're going to clean everything off really, really well with acetone, and then we're going to start that mixing process. All right, so you can see here our friends from Petro Solutions are now taping off that seam down around the sump. We've got it sanded, we've got it cleaned, we've got it leveled. You can see here they're making a good seal underneath that where the tank sump base will meet our tank, and they're taping that off. All that is just a little bit of extra protection so that whenever we pour this RK5000 that it doesn't leak. We don't want it to leak out the backside and kind of remove some of the volume of our epoxy that we're putting in there. So we want it all to stay right there in the channel. Our installations call out exactly the way they're doing it. We do have some customers who like to use our FGK or our fiberglass kits. They still like to go ahead with that hand layup on those strips, and they like to fiberglass the tank on the outside in addition to pouring the RK5000 on the inside. Now again, this is just optional. This is something that some companies do as a part to, as a belt with suspenders, so to speak, or just another layer of that protection. And speaking with the people down here in Florida, that's pretty common practice where these water tables are so high. So in our installation instructions, we say that the RK5000 is the only attachment that is necessary for a good installation for an OPW tank sump. Now, as I said, lots of people still like to use the fiberglass kits to glass the base onto the tank, especially in an environment like South Florida where water intrusion and high water tables are extremely common and pretty much found at any gas station we build. So they're going to go ahead here and add a couple fiberglass strips of resin and fiberglass around the collar, and this is just going to be, like I said, like a belt with suspenders. So both of these attachment methods are extremely common in our industry, and for some of these tougher environments, a lot of end users and contractors believe that for the amount of effort given and the amount of payoff that you see from that secondary process of fiberglass on fiberglass, that this is the ultimate way to ensure no water intrusion from any of our seams as we go. There again though, OPW, we trust our RK5000 100%. It makes a fantastic bond, so we're doing it just like the installation instructions show here today. So the amount of set time of our RK5000 will change a bit depending on what the temperature is outside. Today we've got a beautiful day. It's around 75 degrees, which means our minimum setup time is right around 3 hours. So after that 3 hours, that'll be our minimum set where we can start to work, where this is start to set up and it's not a liquid anymore. That will change. If you're doing this in the winter, it could take up to 14 to 20 hours if you're doing this in the cold.
Yeah.
3 minutes. Yep.
That's it.
We're good. Then we're just going to pour that RK5000 all the way around the channel, and this is what's going to fill that void, fill that channel in between our tank sump collar and our tank. And for the 42 as well as the 48-inch tank sumps from OPW, they're going to require one RK5000 kit to bond to that collar. And then depending on which size you have, whenever we go do our top hat later, the 42-inch requires one RK5000 kit be poured into the channel for the top hat to be set, and our 48-inch requires 1.5 RK5000 kits. So two will need to be purchased for the top hat on a 48-inch, but one RK5000 kit will work for both the 42 and for the 48-inch base. We want to try and pour that as evenly as we can. It will kind of level itself. It'll run around to the lowest point, which is why we use that level, so we get equal epoxy all the way around 360 degrees of our collar, and that looks fantastic. So now that our RK5000 and our fiberglass strips have set on the base, you can see here the Petro Solutions guys are going ahead and now they're sanding up our top hat where it's going to sit into our fiberglass base channel. We're going to need to sand both the top hat where it sits inside the channel. We're also going to sand inside the channel itself on the tank sump base. This is going to make sure, just like with our base, we get a nice rough edge. We get some of the resin-rich coatings off the side, so that whenever that RK5000 goes to bond, that it's bonding very well to the fiberglass that we want it to bond to, and it has a good long-term bond. Now that we've finished sanding both the channel and the top hat, we're going to bring that acetone with the rag back out. We're going to make sure we get all of that dust, any of the dust that's blowing from the wind. We want to get all that stuff cleaned off really well using that acetone with a rag, so we have a really good clean bonding surface. All right, so you can see the Petro Solutions guys here. We're doing a test fit. Now the interesting thing about the ElectroTite that does not hold true with any other tank sump that's ever been put on the market is that you can see here that we've got this doghouse looking. It kind of changes the shape of our typical top hat. Now what this little doghouse does is it gives us a place to mount our quick wire junction box, which is factory mounted inside that top hat. Now this is where all of our electrical penetrations are going to come through. That's the beauty of the ElectroTite, is there's no more holes besides product lines being made in this really good fiberglass. So we're doing a test fit here because it's important to know where this doghouse needs to go. The electrical contractor is going to come out here and he's going to have to make all of his connections to this side from the building. So we always want to talk to those guys first to make sure that we're putting this right where they need it so that they can do all of their electrical work. Everything looks good here. Our string line has a good amount of distance between that we're looking for. So now that everything looks good here, we'll take this off, we'll mix up our RK5000, and then we'll pour that into our channel and set our top hat. So now we're just going to make a mark here so we know exactly where that top hat's going to go whenever we go to put it back. Now we'll take it off, we'll mix up our RK5000, pour our channel, and set our top hat for the last time. So we got our RK5000 mixed for our top hat, mixed it for 3 minutes, and now we're going to pour this evenly around this channel. Now remember, I had said 42 inch requires one RK5000 kit, and if you're using our 48 inch style ElectroTite, this would be 1.5 kits of RK5000. So you'd have to mix up 2, and you want to pour that channel so that we want to get enough underneath it, we want to get enough off both sides, and we want to make sure that we're getting a good bond on all sides of this top hat. All right, now that we've got our RK5000 poured, we're going to hike up our top hat here, and we're going to want to line up these lines as we set it down into the channel. And we'll set it down right there in the center. Looks like those lines are all lined up. All right. So now that we've got our top hat set, I just want to go over a couple of features and really explain how this ElectroTite works and why this is such a great product in some of these higher water table or areas, environments where water intrusion is a bigger problem than others, right? You're not going to see some of these problems in maybe Phoenix, Arizona, where it's very dry, that you're going to see down here in South Florida. So as I said, the change in the top hat really is just a kind of a vehicle to allow a place for our quick wire junction box to live. Now the quick wire junction box is what makes the ElectroTite so awesome. It serves as an entry fitting for your electrical. It serves as your seal off fitting for your Chico pour to make sure no vapors make it back to the building. And it also serves as the explosion proof junction box within the tank sump. So it does all three of those major things, which replace other parts entirely. You can see here that we have no conduit that's going to be run into the base and then turned up. So all of those fittings would otherwise take up space within the tank sump. This is all going to happen back here in the back side of this. So here we are on the back side of our ElectroTite, where you can actually see where we have our 3 1-inch bosses, and this is going to be where our conduit enters through our tank sump. This one on the far left here is a dedicated high power or AC run. This is actually going to be where the STP power comes from, your 220 running inside. And inside our box, and I'll show you in just a minute, there's an intrinsically safe barrier that runs along through there, so we're not creating any noise from our 220 to our lower voltage that's going to be coming in these other two. These other two are, as I said, for low voltage, so your tank sump sensors, your PLLDs, your you could even run interstitial sensors up into one and then back out the other if you need to. There's a lot of things that we can do with these two if you get creative, but for this installation, we're going to have one coming in for sensor power, or I'm sorry, for our tank sump sensor, and I believe this one is going to be unused for now. So this will get a pipe dope 1-inch MPT plug, and we're going to tighten that to 100 foot-pounds. Now we'll take a look on the inside to see what the pour looks like when it's complete, as well as go over a couple of the features of the quick wire junction box. The quick wire junction is sort of the star of the show for the ElectroTite. It is really what allows it to do so well what it does by moving those penetrations out of the base, moving them way higher up into the top hat. Also, we install this at the plant, so whenever we do that, we always air test these to make sure that there is no ability for that to leak. You know, that's one of the confidences you get when you buy an ElectroTite, is that typically whenever installation of electrical components are installed, the petroleum contractor hands off the electrical penetrations to the electrical contractor, and we have never usually talked to an electrical contractor. They have not been trained in FlexWorks or with any of OPW's products. So by taking the tools out of the electrician's hands, we really firm up the confidence that you have in those electrical penetrations. And by us installing the quick wire junction box and air testing it, you know that every single one of these you get, not only will it not leak water or gasoline if that's ever the case, it is an airtight installation. So if I remove the cover, as I said, this is our explosion-proof junction box. It's our entry fitting as well as our seal-off. So in all of these bosses, including the ones that I showed you on the back side, we have provisions in there so that you can pour your Chico or your electrical sealing compound after all of your wires have been run. And those are serviceable from the back. I have myself chopped out the Chico and poured new Chico into this box as it sits. On the one side here, you have your dedicated run. That's going to be your 220 power for your motor, and then you have a bit more flexibility with what is run over on this side. You have the ability to bring in two from the back, and they both come down through a single one here that goes down into the tank sump. So that would be your tank sump sensor. A cord grip works really good coming out of this 1-inch entry here, so that your wires can come down into the sump and be watertight from leaving our junction box. So now that this is on, the electrician, whenever he comes out, he will have to do his work from inside the sump, but oftentimes those guys will take a seat right here on the STP, and that'll kind of give them a workbench to run their wires, to splice those wires, and to put them back in here whenever that time is done. So on the back side, you will very likely see your 90 gets turned up, it goes straight up, then you'll have a union that goes directly into the bosses that we showed you on the back, and then you could pull your wires up through here and then land those where those are going to need to go when it's time for that part of the installation. The last couple bit of notes for the ElectroTite, I just want to discuss our depth here, as I showed you, was great. There was no trimming that was going to be needed. We got our lid on here, and we're still going to have easily 4 inches before our FL100 gets set on top. But one note about whenever we set a manhole with its skirt on top of the ElectroTite is because of this doghouse, how it does protrude out a little bit differently. On some of our skirts, you will need to notch the skirt. And the reason for notching that skirt is we never want to put any kind of load directly on this box. So, you know, typically our skirts come around, they're a full circle that go all the way around. Well, this has a bit of a lift on the middle. So we do want to, if necessary, to notch that skirt so that it can be set down and not be directly on top of this. This is very important, because when cars drive over that cover, it's going to transfer the load directly down through the skirt, through the frame, through the skirt. And if that load then hits this part of the box, it was never intended to carry full weights of full tanker trucks dropping off. We want to keep all the load off of this as possible. So within our installation instructions, we even tell you which of our skirts need to be notched and which of those don't. And also, the amount of backfill and the amount of room that you have also play into that. But the key part of that is we never want to transfer load via a skirt onto our doghouse for the quick wire box. Second, our height here was very good, so we didn't have to do any kind of cutting, or we didn't have to add any extensions. Extensions are 12-inch increments, and you can use up to 3 of them on our ElectroTite or our FiberTite series. And they're essentially, like I said, just a fiberglass skirt extension to add another 12 inches to the rest of your overall tank sump height. This is great for, we have a new build here, so we got to set our tanks and set their depth. However, if you're going back into a site that your tanks are buried deep and you're not going to be moving them or removing them, then you might have to have an extra deep tank sump, even deeper than our deep version. So in that case, you would do the same steps that we did to add the top hat to the base, but you do it with an extension, and that extension would have a new channel for you to set the top hat in should you need that additional height. Those are also trimmable, so if you need only 4 more inches, you can buy one 12-inch extension, cut it down and set it down in the base channel, and then set your top hat down on that. And finally, one of the one of the features that probably our end users like the best about this tank sump is a very, very high quality watertight lid. And it features these L handles that whenever you turn them, it actually has a cam locking action that pulls the lid down onto that stainless ring. We affix these at the plant, so we get them as close as we can so that the cam lock is grabbing and pulling it down. But should you ever need to do any adjustments to these, I'll flip this around here. We have these posts, and all you need to do to adjust the amount of pull on these cam locking is to get a 17 millimeter, and that's going to fit this nut here on the bottom. And you can either tighten or loosen that nut, and there's a corresponding nut on the other side. So really, you have a threaded post, and you're able to move that arm that's actually going to be locking and grabbing our stainless steel ring here that's at the top of our sump. It's going to grab that, and it's going to pull that lid down. So we get a really, really good seal on this seal that's on the inside of our lid. All right, well, I sure hope that that's a really eye-opening look into the ElectroTite by OPW. It is an unbelievably watertight tank sump that we take a lot of pride in. And this is going to perform incredibly well in some of those high water table areas or some of those really troublesome environments that end users have had a hard time with in the past, whether it's having to pump out water every month or, you know, whenever you're tired of doing that. This is the direction that we would like to point people, because we have the utmost faith in this tank sump to keep out water. Again, it serves as your entry fitting, your explosion-proof junction box, and your seal-off fitting once you're inside the tank sump. It goes together as easily as we've shown you today with just some sanding, cleaning, and a really, really high-quality epoxy bond that's getting poured into that channel. A special thanks to our friends at Petro Solutions, as well as Orion fuel stations, and here specifically the downstairs market. We really appreciate them letting us come out and have a hand in getting these tank sumps together. We've really enjoyed doing it, and we hope that this has been a very beneficial video for anybody who gets the chance to see it. Whether you're going to be putting one of these in soon, or you're kicking around the idea of changing your tank sump spec, this is something that we really like, and we're really excited to be able to bring this to your TV screens, your phone screens, to give you a much better look at how well it goes in, how high quality it is. And to see if it's going to fit the bill for some of the problem sites that you may have out there. So if there's any additional questions, you can reach out to the DM in your area. Additional questions can go to opwretailfueling.com. We look forward to fielding any of those questions, or if you've got additional questions on how the electrical can be run or any of those types of questions, please shoot those our way. We'd love to answer those. And get you feeling as confident as we are about these tank sumps. So keep your eyes peeled for more OPW University videos coming your way out here in the field. We're going to try and really bolster that this year. Thanks for watching.